Hi, my name is Gary Craig, and welcome to this tape set entitled Steps Towards Becoming the Ultimate Therapist. I was privileged recently to host two 3-day seminars attended by 128, that's 64 in each of the two seminars, of the most dedicated, accomplished healing practitioners from around the world. It was an exciting seminar. There was lots of material put forward. It's all encapsulated in this tape. Actually, what you're going to do is see two different seminars all on the same tape. I've taken the best parts of both of those seminars and all the presenters and all the audience comments and all the sessions, and I put the best of them together into one tape so that you could see them all in one place. The seminars themselves, just like these tapes, were divided into three parts, and we call them Day 1, Day 2, and Day 3. Day 1 was designed to take EFT as you already know it, and I must interject here, the way to get the most out of these tapes is to have already mastered what was in our original EFT course that Adrian and I put on together with the 11 videotapes, the 4 audio tapes, and the manual. You know, you need to master that before you get the most out of this. And so what Day 1 is a more elegant way to use what you have already learned without having to go to any diagnosis. You'll find new tapping points in here, for example. You'll find ways to shorten the process. You'll find more elegant angles to come in at. You'll find new ways to use affirmations and so on and so forth. And you'll find Day 1 really quite elegant in that regard. Day 2 begins in our diagnosis area, and we start off with surrogate muscle testing. That is where you, the practitioner, will actually assume that you are the client themselves, and you will test a muscle in your body. Some people do it like this. Some people, try to pull their fingers apart. I'm using a muscle up here in my shoulder, but you'll see me do it many, many times as it gets demonstrated as to how you might do it. You'll see how others do it in the audience, and so on, so that you'll be able to get a leg up on how to master this other technique for diagnosing quickly, so you can do this process even better. The third day has to do with intuitive diagnosis, and that's the ultimate step we want to get towards, where you actually just let this stuff work through you rather than by you. You'll hear that phrase many times throughout these tapes. Having it work through us rather than by us and getting ourselves out of the way is a very important concept in this. Anyway, Day 3 is about intuitive diagnosis. This tape you're watching right now, this first tape, is foundational. It is introductory, and it's very important in that regard, in that it sets the stage for what's going to happen with the rest of the tapes. The rest of the tapes have meat in there, the meat in there. You'll see all the sessions, all the presentations, and so forth, and there's little or nothing in the way of fluff. I mean, these things move and move and move, and every time you turn around, there's yet another gem coming from some place, from some corner, from some person, in our seminar room. One thing we do need to cover here, though, before we go any farther, has to do with some of the legal nature of things. Obviously, I cannot take responsibility for what you or anyone else does with these techniques, so I've asked my lawyer to prepare a statement. I'm just going to read it to you. It only takes about 2 minutes to do, but bear with me, please. The information contained in these videos is for educational purposes only, and only represent the personal opinions of the speakers. EFT and other procedures you will see on the videos are experimental and unproven and can, in some cases, induce distressing abreactions. While you are free to use, teach, share, and/or show any of the material presented here, these videos should not be used directly by anyone to treat themselves or others. Before following or adopting any treatment or other opinion expressed on these videos, you agree that you will first discuss the treatment or opinion with an appropriate physician or therapist. No warranties or guarantees are made, expressed or implied. If you do not agree to the above, stop now and return the videos to me for a full refund. By continuing, you agree that you understand the above limitations on your use of these videos and indicate your acceptance of the above conditions. Also, while healing methods have been my passion for 30 years, I am not a licensed therapist, nor am I a psychologist or physician. My academic background is that of a Stanford engineer, and my spiritual path, which I believe underlies all proper healing, has led me to be an ordained minister. I have more to say here to set the stage for this experience, but before we go any farther, let's take a look at the enthusiastic start of this seminar. It sort of sets the tone for it and gives you an introduction to the word awesome, which you may see as this seminar unfolds. Watch. Good morning. That's not good enough. I want a new audience. You guys came from all over the... Well, I may. You guys came from all over the country and all over the world, and I say good morning, and I get the wimpiest good morning I could imagine, you know. No, I don't practice when I say good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Improved. I want to tell you that it's conceivable we will not have a seminar. And the reason I want to tell you that is after putting this together, I found it was so incredibly awesome that I had great concerns about delivering this to you and doing you damage. I'm serious about that. So I called insurance companies, and I wanted to get awesome insurance. And not one insurance company would even sell me a policy for it. Okay? So what I did was I called my lawyers. And I said, I don't want lawsuits over this thing because I damaged somebody. And he said, well, don't give the seminar unless your audience is in absolutely awesome, receptive state. Okay? And if they're not in a receptive state, an awesome receptive state, walk out of the room.
You've got an awesome lawyer.
I have an awesome lawyer. I do. Anyway, the word awesome, I mean, I love to say that word. Say the word for me, awesome. Say awesome. Awesome. Doesn't that even feel good to say? Say it again, awesome. Awesome. I love it. Now, what I'm going to need to do, see, you will notice that I have not even been introduced. Typically, when you have a speaker, they're introduced, and so on. So I'm going to be introduced by none other than Dr. Fred Gallo. Fred Gallo's back here. Would you mind looking at Fred? Raise your hand, Fred. Those of you who don't know him. Now that's exactly what we don't want, okay? Because that was a therapist's applause. It was okay. Is that an awesome reception for Fred Gallo? Yes or no? No. It is not befitting of his stature. Okay? Right. So I'm going to introduce Fred in a moment. I'm going to introduce him. He's going to come up, but I am going to observe how awesomely you receive him. Okay? Now let me ask you something. Therapists are known to be conservative, sort of, and so they... By the way, would you give me a therapist's applause right now, just so I can see? This is a therapist's applause, okay? Does that feel good? You like that? You like that? This is what we don't want. If you were going to give Fred Gallo the awesome reception that he deserves, would you stand up? Yes. Would you yell, whistle, holler? Would you buckle the walls? See, I'm going to be standing over here watching. What's that? I'm going to be standing over here watching as you do this. Are you ready, Fred? Well, we're going to find out. Now I'm watching, okay? Fred's going to come up in a second. Ready? So, please join me now in an awesome EFT welcome for the awesome Fred Gallo. Anyway, awesome, go ahead.
So I'm supposed to do something like this. It goes, Gallo, Fred Gallo. You know the rest. Since the advent of energy psychology, changes are occurring more and more increasingly in quantum leaps. And one of those quantum leaps is something referred to as emotional freedom techniques.
Yes!
Which is a very efficient,
wait a minute.
cheap way.
Wait a minute, you do that with me, okay? You ready? Yes!
Yes!
Okay,
Yes! This is ridiculous.
Keeps us awake.
Now, I've known the originator of this approach for somewhere between 4 and 5 years. And so with that in mind, he's such a generous, creative, extremely awesome individual. So with that said, let's have an awesome EFT welcome for Gary Craig!
Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Very good.
All right.
I still want to get to the word awesome a little bit more, okay?
You're awesome, Gary.
Well, yes, thank you. Well, I'm not totally convinced of the awesomeness. Remember, I've got my legal liability on the line here. So what I would like to do, and by this is sort of like having fun, okay? But there's also a little lesson in it as well. I'm going to divide this room in half, like from this aisle, it's one half, and from this aisle here, it's the other half. And I'm going to ask this half over here, I'm going to ask a question to you. And the question is going to be, are you awesome? Okay? And I'm going to go, are you awesome? And I go like that. And what I'd like to have you do is when I go like that, is give me your most awesome yes. Okay? Are you ready? Are you ready? And by the way, if you're not awesome, by the way, don't say anything. Okay? And these people will evaluate and watch you. Okay? Okay. Are you ready? Are you awesome?
Yes!
On a scale of 0 to 10, was that their most awesome? 3. Give it an 8? Well, give me a number 4. 5. See, that wasn't bad, was it? 5. Yeah, 5. It wasn't bad. It wasn't, but I asked them for their most awesome, didn't I? See, and this is what we tend to do. We tend to say, well, you know, I'm a therapist, you know. I mean, I just don't go out there and just put it out, you know. I've got to be conservative a little bit. I've got to, you know, hold things back and one thing and another, right? So that's what we have these little, we call them passengers on our bus, you know, these little things. So, but actually, you had a chance to go to school on them, didn't you? So I'm going to ask them the same question. I'm going to let you evaluate that, all right? Are you ready over here? Are you awesome? Yeah! Oh, look, they stood up. Now I want to ask you a question. Just saying yes enthusiastically like that, did you notice a change in your energy level? Yes. And when you stood up over here, see, when you get your physiology involved, you can change your emotional state anytime you want just by changing your physiology. Yes. And quite often, you know, I'll be dealing with someone who comes in that has a load of problems, if you will. Some of you may have the same circumstance. And when they do that, talking to you, and they're using terms like, oh, I'm depressed, and I'm so down, and so devastated. And every time you're hearing those, by then I hear those, you have to actually internalize them, or you wouldn't know what those words were. You literally, when somebody says, I'm depressed, you have to say to yourself, well, what does that mean? And you have to literally experience that in a mini way very quickly. And when you get that all day long, what happens, you know? And when they say it all day long, that's part of their problem, isn't it? Okay, because they're conditioning themselves in that way to do that. So what I will do often, even before I give talks sometimes like this, to make sure that my energy level and my state is in its awesome place, I'll sometimes go in the bathroom. I look in the mirror, I'll go, yes! Like that. So I'm serious about that. I'm very serious about that. I will do that. Now, if I have a client right here, if I have a client who's in a down state, and I'm getting down, I could do this. I could elevate my state in a moment by doing this. I could go, yes! Could I not? Yes. Would I change my state? Yes. Would I change hers? Yes. Yes. Instantly I would change hers. I may, before this weekend is over, have us do yeses and whatever, you know, but the purpose of it is to elevate our state. It's a very practical tool, by the way. It may seem a little strange, but I have been known to sit out in my car before a talk or before a sales interview, or I was doing sales and that kind of thing. And I go, yes, in my car like that. Now, I just, to close this little part out, I want to have you all get the experience of that. And so I'm going to ask this group, this side over here, if you're awesome, I want you to stand up and go, yes, with everything you have. And I want you to notice the difference in your emotional state. Are you ready? Are you awesome? Yes! Are you awesome? Yes!
We can stop
Bunch of therapists, huh? I want to give a big thank you to the participants in this who worked on stage both with me and other presenters, and I also want you to know that we respected privacy at all times. Everybody there, of course, knew we were doing this in a public arena, if you will. I mean, the films were on them. There were people in the audience, and obviously we want to respect privacy. And so while these issues are important to the participants, they were willing to share them with us. That's why the thank you, obviously. But you need to know that in the background, we had discussions that said that in case we got up against a subject or a person that was not discussable, a name not mentionable, and so on, that we'd have a way around that. We could either stop doing it altogether, or we could, like somebody's name, we could say, even though did something to me, whatever. And that way we could respect privacy and respect people's boundary issues and so on. So that was done with every single person here, and we always had a way for them to be comfortable with it. And I just wanted you to know that, because that would be an important point for you to evaluate if you were in my shoes. Also, please know I am a great believer in repetition. My fondest hope is that some of the important points here, as you hear me say them for the umpteenth time, that you can repeat them and finish the sentence before I finish it, because that means it has been embedded into your system, okay? So I do use it. And some of the things you're going to hear with some repetition that are important points are the following. One is, I am not teaching you the way to do anything. What you're going to learn is a way to do these things. There are many ways, and what you're really going to end up doing is combining these things and using all of this your way. In fact, this is not just a way to do these things. You're going to see a cafeteria of ways that you can pick yourself. But none of them is the way. We're on the ground floor of a healing high-rise here, and the way has not been developed yet. We're in the process of doing that. That's why we call this steps towards becoming the ultimate therapist. We're not there yet. We're going there. Another thing that you'll hear with great repetition is, in order for the diagnostic techniques to work well for you, you need to get yourself out of the way. You'll hear me say that with some repetition as well, which means you've got to get your own self-talk, your own beliefs. You've got to get yourself out of the way and let your intuition work, and this is the next point, work through you and not by you. Healing occurs through us and not by us. That's the third point that you will hear repeatedly throughout this, and one of the main points that I want to emphasize here. Finally, I want to make this point. My goal here is as a teacher. I'm not here putting myself out as an expert in these techniques. I do not have clients, come through my office all the time. I don't have the ability to practice this as many of you might, who have ongoing practices and see many, many people per day. My goal is to be a teacher, and the way you evaluate what a good teacher is you look how well the students did. And my fondest goal is for you to pick up on what I'm doing. And by the way, many of you in some of the things that I'm doing are already exceeding me. But I'd like to have you pick this up, and I'd like to have everybody who watches these tapes, everybody who attends the seminar, exceed my skills in them. When that has occurred, then I will consider myself, or I will consider my goal to have been reached, which is to be a good teacher, and that is to have students excel beyond me. To emphasize that, I want to read something to you. This is the final paragraph that I wrote in the announcement for these advanced seminars that I put out on our email list. It is the announcement that people made the decision by which either to attend or not attend the seminar. But it encapsulates what I just said. In yet other words, it's that important I want to read it to you. It goes like this. In summary, I will be teaching diagnosis that, in my opinion, is unique in this field and surpasses just about everything out there. I do not consider it the ultimate ending place for all diagnosis, however. I consider it a beginning and expect that most of you will accelerate beyond these techniques and exceed my skills with them. I am opening a door here. Those who walk through it will find themselves in a palace of possibilities. Now, I want to introduce you to Adrian. You'll notice I'm sitting here alone. If you watched the earlier tapes, Adrian was sitting beside me, and we worked the whole thing together. Adrian, due to personal circumstances of her own, is not able to continue on with me in this process. But I did bring her up in the seminars. She did want to meet everybody. Everybody wanted to meet her because they knew her already from the films. She's very, very dear to me, and I must point out to you that it was what you're about to see in my introduction to her. I get quite emotional. I'm not sure you can even understand all the words that I'm saying. just understand what I'm trying to do is introduce Adrienne, and here she is. In 1991, January 8, 1991, I was privileged to meet a lady that has literally shifted my life. She's been my teacher from that day to this day forward. She taught me how to love. She taught me a lot of things. I get very emotional about it. But you all know her. This is Adrienne. Come on.
Wow.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Adrienne would love to be doing this with me. But how am I going to do this? But due to private circumstances for her, she's not been able to join. And but I wanted to come by and have you all meet her, because you all know her on the tape.
He's a pretty special guy, and you guys are going to get 3 days.
If I can ever stop crying, you will.
3 days of work from the heart with this guy. Comes right from the heart. Why am I up here?
I don't know. This was going to go very smoothly. I had this all planned.
I have some stories.
Oh yeah.
to tell.
Yeah. I know you have some stories to tell. And she has a story or two she wants to tell against my better judgment. So just go ahead and tell the story.
This is ammunition for you guys.
Tell the one about California Miracle Center first, would you please?
We, in the very early days of giving the talks, we did a lot of filming, and I was, you've probably seen some of it on the tapes that you've looked at. I was doing the camera. We didn't have John and all the wonderful people, so I'd be behind the video camera and doing the music and everything. And this group that I'm going to tell you about was a church, and we were doing a workshop there. And Gary was doing his wonderful thing up on stage, and I was, working everything the way I was supposed to. And he was drinking quite a bit of water, as you'll see him drinking today to get through the session. And he had to take a break. So he went ahead and
It wasn't just a break. It was
a break.
A pee break.
Or a potty break, I was going to say. But you could say pee break. Anyway, so he took a break, and I was talking to people. And to this day, he will not believe this, but this is the truth. All of a sudden, we heard a very familiar sound. Everybody stopped talking. And I'll say it sounded like a river to build his ego. But anyway, I mean, everybody stopped. It was awesome.
I had my
really
microphone
awesome.
on. See, I forgot to turn my microphone off.
And it started happening, and I went to look at the equipment, but there were, honest to God, there were a lot of people. I didn't let it happen, but I kind of enjoyed it. But there were a lot of people, so I couldn't even go save him. I absolutely could not. So he came out of the restroom, and he comes walking in, and everybody starts applauding.
This is all on film, by the way.
Yeah, but funny, I don't think it's in any of the tapes that
No,
you
it's
saw.
not in
Wasn't
any of
that
it.
edited out? That was edited out, right?
Different seminar, dear.
Right. Anyway, so that was great. And if you wanted to see him where he had to tap, that was it, because he was really, really, really embarrassed over that.
I had no idea what was happening. I was in the bathroom making my river, if you will.
Yeah.
And I could hear these gales of laughter going on outside. I thought, well, Adrienne's out there cracking jokes. Wonderful, wonderful. She's got to, And I come walking out, they're all looking at me and pointing, and then somebody says, your microphone was on,
It has to be every speaker's horror, I guess, to think of that. He's never done that since. He's learned that lesson very, very well. And there's another story. We had gone...
One more story.
We had gone... Only one?
Yeah,
Too many.
I know.
We had gone up to Lake Tahoe We had a meeting up there. So usually we'll stay at one of the large, hotels up there. But this time, we were driving by and we saw a small, inexpensive place, and we said, why don't we just go there,
Lucky Lodge.
Right. It wasn't going to name the name of it, but Lucky Lodge was it. So we go and check in. And
$39.
Right. Now you know why we were staying there. He pays the bills. But he was so happy with $39. And so we checked in, and we brought our things in the room, and the room stunk. The smell, I'm sure every one of you has probably experienced
Bunch
it.
of cleaning fluids and stuff. It was just awful. We went for a walk. We did.
And aired out the room. We said, let's leave the window open and we'll air out the room and come back. So when we came back, it still smelled, and we said, oh, we can't stay here. So we put everything in the car, and we went to to the desk clerk to explain why we were not going to be staying there. And she said, no refunds.
We'd been there 30 minutes, and all they did was put the luggies on the bed.
You're
That's
still a
it.
bit mad.
Yes. No, I'm not.
Wait a minute.
No.
I really thought. Did you hear it? So, didn't do enough of that tapping, but anyway, she said no refunds, and so we said no. We didn't even use the room. We used nothing, and we tried to air it out and explained it, and she said no refunds. And she was rather happy about it. She really was. But she got even happier because of somebody here reacting to it. Now, I've known him for so many years, and I have really never seen this. And it was really interesting to see. He said, no, you don't understand. And said the same words over again. We did not use the room. We didn't use the room. And she said, no refunds. And he continued. He said, and then he finally said, that is, and I looked at him, I thought, my God, what's he going to say? And he said, this is really strong for Gary. That is so small of you. And I looked, and I thought, small of you? What? Fighting words coming from Gary. That's true. So small of you. And he's kept saying it. And I looked at him and I thought, this is really getting out of hand. And the lady really liked it because then she said, look at this small print. What you signed, look at this. And so I finally said to Gary, let's just leave, And so we went outside and I said, he was in the lot saying, can you believe it? And going around, that is so small of them, so small of them. And I said, oh, lighten up and tap. For God's sake, tap. And with that, we both started laughing. But he did have to tap, and I think you still have to over that.
An aspect we didn't cover.
I guess so. When we went to check into the bigger hotel, which, by the way, was no $39 or whatever that was.
Like $139 or
right. And he was signing the register, and I had picked up a card from Lucky Lodge, and I slipped it under his nose as he was filling out the form. But I think it was you jerk, So he hasn't really gotten over it.
Are you done?
I have a lot more to say, but I don't think you're going to let me say it. So if he gets on a high horse during any of these 3 days, just remind him.
Just say that's
Lucky Lodge. Lucky Lodge. That'll do it.
Oh, my.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank
dear.
you. Good luck to you.
See you later.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to go back this way.
Okay. Well, Alan Handelsman and Thomas Fleming, please come up. Better, much better. Yeah, come on up.
Okay.
For those of you who are interested, she has the same technique she uses to neutralize substance sensitivities you may have. For example, if you eat, drink, smell something, and that particular substance bothers you, she has a technique which she would like to apply for you before the seminar's over. Get my breath back in there. And so I have to raise your hands as to how many have such a thing you'd like to have worked on. Okay? Wait a minute. Alan Handelsman has another technique for substance sensitivities, right?
Yes.
You have what you call an ARTI.
I call it a tuner now.
A tuner. Oh, a tuner now. Okay. Well, it was called resonance tuning, which
It's still called.
is ARTI. Okay.
Okay.
And it's a. Do you have one with you?
Yes.
It's a proprietary kind of device. It's proprietary because part of what this is was developed by somebody other than you.
Right.
And you do not have permission to use it all. However, its effectiveness you have a lot of results with.
Yes. In fact, when I work with it myself, I usually use the card before I use anything else. And
Okay.
there's times when I don't have the card and I say, and I want to use the process, and I say, oh darn, I don't have the card, and then I remember that I can do it without the card. So the card's very effective.
Is the card something you sell?
Yes.
We have to have
Whoops.
You can use this if you want to.
Is the card something that you sell or have available?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Now, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to have you guys raise your hands. Those of you who would like to have some, you have some sensitivity to something you'd like to just get out of the way. You know, you eat this, you get a rash. You eat this, and blah blah blah. You smell this, and something happens to you. Your heart pounds, or whatever it is. We have a few people here. Well, let's see. Well, everybody raise your hand, okay? Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Whole bunch of well, let's just make it easy if we could. Why don't you take this side of the room,
Okay.
okay? And you can take the others. You have a few more, but if there's too many, you can give them over to Alan or something like that, okay? And what you are to do is to get a hold of Alan or Tapas, whoever you've been assigned to, at the break, before lunch, or whenever, and say, hey, I'm one of those people, and go through this process. And what I'd like to have happen is, as this seminar unfolds, and you guys do this, we would like you will then have a chance to test it by eating whatever it is, and you know, and we'd like to see how that works. Okay? Do you have anything you'd like to say about it, or about what you do?
It's real easy, it works fast, and I'll be happy to work with you during the breaks.
Okay. Alan, anything? I'm sorry. Well,
Now, I don't have a particular sensitivity, but I'd be interested in seeing and learning what you two do. So if it's done in little clusters during the breaks, is there a way to organize it so others will have a sense of it too?
well, why don't we do this? At the break, those who are interested, when the break comes, go to your own specific places, and you can go to either one you want. As far as I'm concerned, it's fine for everybody to watch in, but we need to respect the privacy of whoever's having it done. They may want privacy. And if they do, then privacy, you can go off to somebody's room or something for that one person. But generally speaking, the privacy is not really a problem. As far as I'm concerned, everybody should be watching how it goes. Okay, go ahead back here.
I would like to see a demonstration on the stage of both methods so that
Well,
I don't miss one person's contribution.
Yes. We have a chock full. I have a list of stuff I'm not even able to get on. I'm going to have stuff done at breaks. We're going to have somebody bending spoons, etc. All right, with their intention. I got a lot of stuff going on, and yes, I appreciate that. The thing you'll need to do though is to tune in or watch as they do these techniques themselves. You know what I mean? I hope you can do that. What we may do is have if we get a chance to have the camera film some of it, and I can put that on the film set. Okay. That would be useful too. But we have a lot going on up here on this stage. We have a tremendous amount going on, and I have to decide what happens up here and what doesn't. Okay. Anything else you wanted to say about it, Alan?
It'll be easy to find me because about 45 seconds after the beginning of each break, you can find me coming out of the men's room. So that's where I'll be, at least for the beginning of each break.
Okay. All right. Can we have a hand for them? Michael Gandy and I met a few weeks ago. He was introduced to me by Don Eliam. He's a licensed acupuncturist in Oakland, and he was doing some specializations in migraine headaches and had heard through Don of what EFT was about and was quite interested in what we were doing. I was interested in what he was doing, and so we went there and we started comparing notes and comparing techniques, and both of us became quite impressed. One of the things that Michael's going to do for us on Sunday, and I want to introduce him to you now, so you'll have a lot of questions to ask him, because when he's going to come on up, Michael, because what he shows you here, you'll find quite interesting. Why don't you come on up a second, and just sit right here if you would.
Hi.
No, ask them this question. Say, are you awesome? Just ask them.
Are you awesome?
Just curious, because I'm going to leave here as soon as they aren't. There we go. You put that down right there, or on in your pocket, or on your belt. I'll put it on your belt for you. Okay. Okay. Now, I'll continue on with what I was saying. One of the things Michael did was he wanted me to work with some of his clients with their various issues. And so I started doing it, and I was basically practicing and honing up my surrogate muscle testing and intuitive diagnosis, et cetera, because I wanted to get my skills as high as I could, for this workshop, since I'm going to be demonstrating them. And so I was doing that. What Michael would do, here, let me take this away. He would, and this was very strange to me. And by the way, we're not going to teach this here. This kind of thing would be several weekend seminars to teach. But what he did was he would have this box full of all these little vials. And what these vials are, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, is each of those has a different energy configuration in them, having to do with the acupuncture meridians, having to do with emotions, having to do with organs and so on, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, and you've known that you've discovered all this out of years and years and years of your own practice. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what he would do was he would take these electrodes and he would put them on somebody and then attach them to himself so they're connected electrically. And I'm sitting here doing my thing with my EFT thing with them, and they're getting the results, but he's monitoring it. That's the important thing. He's monitoring it. He's got his fingers on here, and he's muscle testing himself, and so on. He will know instantly when the channel clears. He'll know instantly. One of the things we found out was that one of the ladies said something in one of the affirmations, and the moment she said it, the channel cleared. The moment she said it. So we're going to demonstrate that to you on Sunday. But in the meantime, I wanted to introduce Michael to you. Michael, you do your office is in Oakland.
That's correct.
And it's called what?
The East West Healing Arts Center.
Okay.
And we're on Park Boulevard in Oakland.
And you have 30 seconds or so for a commercial. You want to give one?
Well, Pepsi didn't pay me any money, so I'll do something different. Well, I'm really looking forward to working with some folks today, and I won't be here tomorrow, but Sunday.
You won't be here tomorrow.
I'm not going to make it tomorrow.
Okay.
And one of the things that I'm interested in doing is understanding what are the underlying patterns that have us be the way we are. And this technique which you're using and learning, it's a tool. It's a technique. But in the context of your practice and your rapport and your relationship with clients, it can become, I think, a really healing technique that can open the possibility of the body doing a lot of healing, both emotionally but also energetically, and through one's chemistry in their own body to a certain degree. So I've been studying for a number of years what are the underlying patterns that are kind of, we sort of have this iceberg, at the top we have the emotions that come and go and whatnot, and emotions aren't bad, they're part of our intelligence, or should be. But what are the underlying programs that tend to have us do things in a repetitive way? And that is well, perhaps Don could speak to it at some point, but I think it's a really useful tool to have a basic idea of what these underlying self-sabotaging or problematic patterns, and also what are the healing possibilities, where's the light at the end of the tunnel for that individual, and to have that in front of you. Not that that's the end and be all, but it's a very useful tool.
One of the things that we'll be doing is this seminar unfolds, there will be a couple of you, 2 or 3 of you that will work Sunday afternoon, and Michael will literally hook you up, okay, and do this as I'm doing a session with you for whatever the issue may be, but Michael will need to visit with you first, and so right. As that gets chosen, I'll point you over, and he needs to do a little map, spends about 15, 20 minutes with you, do a little map right. ahead of time to do what he was just talking about there.
And a slight proviso to that, I actually had a conversation a few days ago. I hadn't had a chance to talk with you about this, but I think I can mention this. One of the folks who worked with us called and said, during the time up here, I couldn't really validate that map because it was just too deep. It was just who I thought I was. These maps we confuse as being, that's who I am. It's not. It's this mask we wear on ourselves, but it's a deep mask. So the folks who are going to work with me, you don't have to reveal or open any of that stuff up, but it is the possibility for working at a deeper level. And probably the one session we have up here would not be enough you can't throw a container over something this big. It would start a process that you would then want to complete. And I would be happy to send you the high potency flower remedies and the map, a copy of the map itself that we do, for you to then pursue with your own person that you work with, whoever that might be.
In addition to that, many people last time asked about training and the specifics of what you do. You don't have a formal thing for that, but that's possible if enough people have interest. So if you have interest in that, you want to.
Right. There is a way for us to work together. And
Michael and I have been conferring back and forth. I'm a therapist, and Michael sent a client to me, and he sent the map. It's 5 areas, like 5 aspects, an emotion in each aspect and what needs to be done. And this one client, I swear, I didn't look at the map. So I'm doing this work, and this comes up, this comes up. I look down the map, and it's exactly what we're dealing with. However, 4 out of the 5 we hit. The one the woman didn't hit was the one she really avoids. So I brought that up, and then we just went boom. So you've got a treat in store for you. It's in terms of this map. It's 5 areas that the client holds, and it's just amazing. So.
Thank you.
And again, I will point out we are not teaching it here. We're exposing you to it.
And the last thing is Michael is a very smart man. I mean, talk to him.
Now, one other thing I want to visit with Michael on for a second, then we're going to take a break, all right? One of the things I was telling to Michael, he was asking me, why do you tap the points that you tap, the ones that we were using, the ones that you're familiar with EFT? And so I was telling him, well, my theory is since the energy system is all connected and intertwined, if you tap on enough of them, you send the energy balance it down, all of them, and that tends to be why. Well, that's my theory anyway, right or wrong, and it tends to work out in practice. He suggested some other points that, in his opinion, would be more efficient. There were 3 points, which, if you tap those 3 points, there was such interconnection among them that you will get all the major meridians with them. Correct? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay. And they are. Why don't you just point out where they are? And you might want to write this down and notice where they are, okay? Because you will see me use them from time to time. You already see me use them once with Adrian. It's right there, okay?
Well, I had this idea, and then we actually tested it. So it doesn't exist purely as a theory. Gary was able to have channel shift and issues go away, and so we've actually done a little bit of proving on them. These work for the major channels. Now, at some point, we may discuss other channel systems, the chakra systems that are also energy systems that can be adhered to emotions and thoughts. But anyway, for the major channels, probably, I guess the simplest, I'll give you 3 major ones and 2 optionals, okay? 2 alternatives. Bai Hui, which is at the apex of the ears, if you do one of these kind of things. You wiggle your hands, then you can sing Mickey Mouse. No. Right at the top of the apex of the ears, on the midline.
Why don't you bend your head over like that?
That's right. That's where my cowlick is. There's a point called Bai Hui. And that translates as 100 meetings. And in Chinese, when you say 100 meetings or 1,000 meetings, that means there's a lot of meetings, right? And you can just kind of tap right up in here. Now, this is an interesting point as well, because this is a place where I will use a needle when an individual who's jammed, which means you can't get good muscle testing on them, that you can clear jamming. Anyway, that's the first point, and that will touch all of the yang channels in the body, all of the yang major meridian channels.
How would you spell that, Bai Hui?
Bai Hui.
Bai Hui.
B-A-I-H-U-I. 100 meetings. It's governing vessel 20 on any, if you look up the map. Okay, then there's really no equivalent point for all of the yin channels that I've played with so far. So I break that down into 2. One for the upper yin channels of the body, and that's Neiguan, which is inner gate. And here's the quick and dirty way of doing it. Put 3 fingers from the wrist crease, and the place where the most proximal border of this index finger meets these two ligaments that go right up the center of the forearm. Where those two intersect, that's P6, pericardium 6, or Naguan. Pericardium 6 or Naguan.
If you look at
N-E-I-G-U-A-N.
Okay. If you bend your hand towards you, you'll notice those two little tendons that stand out. It's basically between those two.
It's a wrist.
However, you suggest we
flexion.
just slap, because that's easier to get to them.
You get to the basic area.
Okay.
Yeah. So bang, bang, bang. That, of course, will deal with the upper yin, which is the lungs, the pericardium, and the heart. Now, one of the things I do in the mapping, I tell you which channel and which side are the relevant places. So you know you can go right to it. There's a third point, and here you can put a finger right on the medial malleolus. It's a little less convenient, but it's not difficult. And
the medial malleus is the ankle bone point.
Thank you.
It's that little bump.
Thank you. He helps me speak English.
Yeah.
So the protrusion, the point that sticks out here at the ankle bone, put all 4 fingers there, and you're going for the fatty area between the tibia and the Achilles, and there's an area in there. You can just tap that. Now that'll get the lower yin, the liver, the kidney, and the spleen or pancreas channels. This is on the inside. Now there's nearly...
we have a question here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
They can't, yeah.
Put your finger here it's about right there. You just bang in that general area. It seems to work. I've watched it clear when Gary's doing his work.
That's also an alternative for this one. This is the same.
Well, no, it does more than that. This is spleen 21, and I found it intermittently clear spleen points, but not assuredly. This seems to do better with spleen, kidney, and liver points all. So it's actually beyond just this. Though this has the advantage of being connected to a certain loyal channel in the body.
In a way, and correct me if I'm wrong, I never asked you the question this way.
Okay.
The original EFT thing was to tap on all the meridian points. Going down the body. Here, 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 here. We didn't use this one. And then we did the fingers like that. We did one here and one there, okay?
Right.
And thereby we have 14 of them. If I understand you correctly, and the theory of that is we're hitting all the some point on all the main channels.
Either the beginning or the end points of most of the main channels.
If I understand what you're saying, it would be your suggestion that these 3 would be doing the same as those 14.
I think so.
Okay.
Though there's an exception that we can get into that on Sunday when we talk about divergent channels.
Sure.
Michael, what is the name of that point and the number for it?
Spleen 6. San Yin Jiao. 3 yin crossing. Spleen 6. SP-6. If you look at acupuncture chart.
The Oriental spelling.
The pinyin is S-A-N for 3. Y-I-N for yin, like yin and yang. Jiao. J-I-A-O, which means crossing.
Wait, we have
3 yin crossing.
Thank you. I was just asking what that translation was then.
Okay.
3 yin?
3 yin crossing.
3 yin crossing, okay.
And then there's two optionals, and I won't go into the details here, but there, instead of this point up here, if for some reason this point, which is on the governing vessel, which is the spine channel that it goes up, if for some reason that is not connected well with the body, say the atlas or something like that is out of position, and there are two points on the body that are similar to the 2 yin points on the body. This does the upper yang on the back of the hand, and then there's the lower yang on the feet. And
which is the opposite side of this one, right?
Right.
So you could just do this.
Yeah, you could.
Okay. That would be an efficient way to do it.
That would be an efficient way. You want to get both sides, though.
I know it's gonna. We need the microphone to say, but she says it's going to look funnier and funnier, and it probably will, you know. And maybe we can do it this way, and then we can do it this way.
Yeah! I like that. Monkey see, monkey do.
Aren't you glad you came? We have a question. We have a question back here.
Yes. So how many taps and how hard do you need to tap?
Well, I haven't monitored it enough to know, but I'll throw out an idea here. I'm going to throw out an idea that there is the energetic input, which is you're just tapping on it. It doesn't seem to take much. But there is a space that you're encouraging your client to be in. And it's given by the words, totally love and accept myself. So you talk about what is, so you have truth. I accept and love myself despite this truth that I don't want to be at. And that truth is creating an emotional adhesion to one's mentality, to one's acupuncture energetics, chakra energetics, scalar energetics, etc.
And to interject, if I may, what you just said is the essence of what Bill Tiller will be saying tomorrow. It has to do with intention. It has to do with intention. You will find out after the break you may not even need to tap. Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's true.
Yeah.
Well, there is an advantage. There is an advantage to tapping, because when the chi is adhered in a channel, if you can be with that intention, and either energetically, I can do, qigong and move energy a point, probably we all can. You can do that. This just gives a real mechanical, can't ignore it sort of input. If you're in that space that I just talked about, and as a therapist, you're creating that space where that truth and honesty and acceptance and love can all be. There's something in that matrix that just allows what was adhered to become fluid again. And then you have what I consider separate morphogenic fields able to flow without being adhered together.
But why do you need to tap to do that?
Well, there is an energy system. The acupuncture system is an energy system that does have a space-time aspect to it. It is in your body in space and time, and the tapping, our fingers have energy, and when we're going there, we're putting not only mechanical energy, but also the energy that surrounds our hands on the points.
Well, I understand that, but my experience has been for years now that you can imagine doing the tapping, and it works just as well as tapping.
I think it's possible.
We're going to have an example of that after the break, as a matter of fact.
The only proviso to that is frequently you'll have people who either don't want to get well or don't believe they can get well, and they're going to sabotage that kind of intentionality. So the physical intentionality goes beyond their thinking.
Okay, another question back here.
My experience is that in tuning into the morphogenic field, you have to have some tuning devices, and depending on what a person's mindset is, they need to be in this space-time materially oriented or not, depending on what their energy system is. But for those of us who tend to be more incarnate, the tapping works quite a bit better.
Okay, one more question, then we're going to take a break. Go ahead.
I just need it repeated as to what the back of the hand and the outside of the ankle, what's that for?
The back of the wrist.
I think you mean.
Well, there are three yang channels of the major channels cross in the back of the wrist. Probably Sanjiao 8, also called triple heater 8, is on the back of the wrist. You can get an acupuncture little thing and find that point. And gallbladder 38 or is it 39? You're gonna catch both of them when you go there. I forget. One of them is a 3 yang crossing. I believe it's gallbladder 38. And there again, more or less, you put your hand down there, come up from the ankle, and just bang on that whole little area along that line, and you'll catch the right point.
Okay. Thank you. All right, we're going to take a break now. I want to remind you, those of you who want to work on substance sensitivities, please see either Tapas or Alan. Oh, hold on a second. We have a comment here. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that sensitivities aren't limited to foods. I'm able to identify jewelry. If you have a cellular phone or a pager or glasses or clothes, sometimes we're sensitive and we don't. Or somebody. That's true. Maybe a few people. So that the sensitivities, sometimes we're living with them and we're not even aware of them. So I found deodorant was bad for me, and I would have known without.
You may be able to find what somebody's sensitive to and they don't even know it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Exactly.
All right.
So we can talk about that.